He called me a gold digger, not in a quiet argument, not in a private moment, but in the middle of his family dinner, loud, sharp, and deliberate. His words cut through the air like broken glass, and in that instant, the room froze. Forks clinked against plates, glasses hovered midair, and every pair of eyes turned toward me. Some were wide with shock, others narrowed with judgment, but all of them were waiting for me to crack, to defend myself, to prove my place at that table. He leaned back in his chair, smirking as though he had just exposed me, as though his cruel little statement had stripped me of every ounce of dignity. But he was wrong. What he didn't understand was that I had nothing to prove. I didn't need to justify my presence, my choices, or my worth to anyone, least of all to a man who had just tried to humiliate me in front of the people who were supposed to matter most to him. In that moment, while his arrogance filled the silence, I realized he wasn't revealing my character. He was revealing his. He thought he had taken control of the story, but he had no idea that this was about to become the last dinner where he ever had the power. I didn't react the way he wanted me to. I didn't cry, shout, or storm out of the room. Instead, I smiled. A calm, almost unsettling smile that made his family shift nervously in their seats. They had expected drama, maybe even tears, but what they got was silence, a silence that said far more than words ever could. Then, at the exact moment when the tension was at its peak, the waiter arrived with the bill. A simple folded slip of paper, yet in that moment, it was more powerful than anything else in the room. Without hesitation, I reached forward, took it, and slid my card inside. The entire table gasped, whispers flickered like sparks, and his smug grin faltered for the first time. He hadn't expected this. In his mind, I was supposed to be desperate, dependent, clinging to him for status and money. And yet here I was, effortlessly covering the cost of the entire evening. The same dinner where he had tried to strip me of pride. When the waiter walked away, his family's faces shifted, confusion, surprise, even a little admiration. And suddenly, I wasn't the subject of ridicule anymore. I was the one holding the balance of power, and he was the one who had just been exposed. But the true twist of the night came moments later. Just as the shock of me paying the bills settled in, the man seated at the far end of the table, the tall figure in a tailored navy suit, stood up slowly. His presence carried weight, the kind that made people instinctively straighten their backs. He extended his hand to me with a knowing smile, and in that single gesture, the entire dynamic of the evening shifted again. This wasn't just a stranger. This was the CEO of a company I had closed a multi-million-dollar contract with only weeks earlier. A man whose respect I had earned, not through charm or chance, but through hard work and vision. His words cut through the silence. I see you still don't recognize the value sitting right in front of you. The room fell still. His father, who had always admired this CEO and spoken of him with reverence, looked at his son with disappointment burning in his eyes. Meanwhile, the man who had called me a gold digger sat frozen, his arrogance crumbling as the truth dawned on him. In trying to expose me, he had revealed his own ignorance. When the waiter returned with the receipt, I signed it without hesitation and stood from the table. My silence was louder than his insult, my actions sharper than any defense I could have spoken. I didn't need to explain myself, and I certainly didn't need his approval anymore. I walked out with dignity intact, the CEO by my side, a symbol not of dependency, but of recognition for who I truly was. That night wasn't about revenge, and it wasn't about proving him wrong. It was about reclaiming control of the narrative, showing his family, and him, that worth cannot be defined by someone else's insecurities. His insult had been meant to break me, but instead, it became the very stage where his own arrogance destroyed him. And as I left that dinner behind, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the best response isn't anger or defense. It's grace, silence, and the undeniable strength of knowing exactly who you are. The real lesson wasn't mine to learn. It was his.